Hello, everybody. Welcome to CyberKriya, a place where we try to invite experts, leaders who have passion in cybersecurity, especially in cybersecurity for ERP space, SAP specifically. I've been fortunate enough to have all the leaders who started cybersecurity journey for the industry and maybe have done enough contribution which made us where we are today. And somebody I met, I would say very recently, I didn't realize there is somebody like whom I wanna be. Maybe that was like my next version of a friend from Germany whom I met very recently through LinkedIn. He's a amazing cybersecurity practitioner, expert, has been doing this, I would say, maybe more than 30 years, if not more. Even have written multiple books. The book, which I didn't realize it came this year, because maybe it was only released in German. So I'm trying to get him on my podcast. Maybe we're trying to do more things, collaborate, maybe get his book version in the English for the global audience. So, but I think he has an amazing perspective, which probably is not known in maybe outside of the German world, or maybe it's known maybe at least as maybe on our side we don't know about him. So, without further ado, let me welcome Holger Stumm to our CyberKriya podcast. Holger, welcome to our show.
Yeah, Gaurav, thanks for introducing me and thanks for having me here. So totally exciting. Feels a little bit like coming home. So I was in the US for 10 years in the 90s, and I see up this whole speed really catching up. The spirit of the Silicon Valley was everything really just starts, creates, accelerate. So yeah, I'm glad that I see closing circles here with these podcasts.
No, this is, I would say, our pleasure, and I think honor is all mine, Holger. So before I think we go into our questions and I think your journey, I just want to maybe give you a moment to maybe just introduce yourself from your side. Like, if you have to introduce yourself to the audience, SAP audience, SAP security audience, or I think the German side, everybody know about you. But I know you said you have some history on the US too. But maybe just for the global audience who may not know you, who is Holger?
That's a good question. I try to make it short because more than 30 years SAP career is really hard to describe in a few words. I spent 10 years in the US in the 90s, where all these big bang, large scale projects were taking place with SAP, big time, first time implementations. My claim of fame is Coca-Cola Enterprise, the bottling company of Coca-Cola, or Bridgestone Firestone, the tire company, among others. So huge implementations. And it was really just, I don't know, it was a fabulous time. It was a time of big budgets. Also then great travel expenses all across the US. And I was doing this for almost 10 years. I was a resident of Silicon Valley. I lived in Half Moon Bay. It's a beautiful town near San Francisco. But from there, we did projects all over US, nearly all coastlines, West Coast, East Coast, South, and also international projects, Venezuela, Australia, in Asia. So it was a fun time. It was a great time. Then I went back to Germany after a couple of years at SAP, working for SAP also as a developer and e-commerce consultant. I decided to make my own company. And in 2003, I founded my own company, Log2, in Germany, and had this company since that time. We went through various phases, various sizes, but we were always in the size of 5 to 10 people. And the first 10 years was B2B, marketplaces, international trading. And so this also introduced me to that problem of security across communication, because if you have international marketplaces, of course, security is a big topic. And then after 10 years, we had a software developed and everything. I decided maybe it's time to shift a little bit, become a little bit more adventurous, because software development is okay, but gets boring after 10 years. And so I decided to shrink the company a little bit, which was a wise move because consulting became specific business. But we were focusing on security. In 2011, it was a topic nobody really had on its map because it was strange. Nobody likes it. Was a question of what do you want to do with security? So we have doors in our data center. So that's fine. And nobody really was looking into it. And of course, because all my career was SAP, all my customer were SAP. So it was logical thing to focus on the SAP community, to look at SAP security in that community. And I was glad to have a couple of customers who really went that way with me. He said, okay, Holger, we know you're a guy with great ideas all the time, so why don't we go ahead and do security with you? make us a concept, just try to challenge us. It was also the time where Mariano and Synopsys really were just gaining ground in the SAP world. Europe had its own path to security, and I was always on that security. And so since 2011, for more than 10 years now, we were just doing everything security. Starts with RFC security, little pen tests, and then of course it grows. Since I'm a former developer, code security is always the core of my topics. But then when you really start looking into hacking, you really become hooked because you want to know how to break things. Always have this eye on the bad side. So this Breaking Bad Netflix series is really something I think that's also valid for IT security. It's you always have this eye on what are the bad guys doing and certain admiration for that technology. So you really just you learn, you live, and a lot of people ask me, how did you learn all that stuff? How did you went into security? And I said, because I wake up at 10 o'clock in the night and have an idea for a hack, so I go to my computer and do it. Yeah, but at this time I'm sleeping and my kids and I'm in a soccer team and yeah, I said, yeah, it's one or the other. So you either have hobbies or do things or large family life, or you just, start learning all your life. And hacking is a lifelong learning, never stops. It's not that security is a fashion, so it continuously develops. So hackers are raising the bar, you are hunting them, raising security. And so one gave another. And since, just I became over the years a senior guy, or also in management, in relations with CISOs, with management teams. You also, besides being a hacker, you always come into that role of senior consultant, guidance, mentor of things. And so this I'm today. So I recently discovered, and I think that's also why we are talking, that security is no longer a silo thing. So you are not the best of the world with all your secret hacks you are doing. You live also by your community. How many hackers do you know? How do you really encourage them to share their knowledge, to really increase also the community knowledge for attacks? And this is, how I see it today. It's a lot of connections. It's a lot of being connected with all levels of security, with the top management, with the board, with board members, with CISOs, but also with the trenches who are doing the SAP basis work. And of course, this whole hacker world, and to people who really love hacking. And I think this mixture is really fascinating, and I can go on this forever.
I think we can go on forever. I was loving listening. I was trying to go back, talking about the time when you said the big budget, and I always heard about the story about when SAP was like the most
Yeah.
highest paid, right? The whatever monthly rate I heard about. So when I
Yeah.
came, I would say 2010, first time in US, I heard about those stories. Oh, it used to be like that, whatever rate. I don't want to talk about the rates here, but so you have lived those journeys, right? So it's always fascinating to know from somebody who has actually lived those. And uh,
Yeah. These cool things, like the first project was a computer distributor who doesn't exist anymore, called Maricel in Los Angeles. And, it was everything paid. So car all the
yeah,
time, and apartment by the harbor in Redondo Beach. And so it was beautiful. So it was really the life. And then, and on the weekend, you were just getting your skateboard or whatever and just riding along the Los Angeles beaches up to Venice Beach. Beautiful.
I would say we still a community or an area where there are a lot of jobs, right? The SAP, all the major companies, all the big organizations, they do run SAPs. Anybody who's listening, watching, doesn't know what SAP, do a Google, do a research, and find out. There's still a lot of jobs. I know we talk about jobs, and there's not many jobs now. AI is taking over jobs, but SAP, being SAP and the ERP space, I feel there's still opportunity for you if you have a passion, especially in the cyber world, and if you want to be that ethical hacker as Holger is. And one thing I heard, Holger, you said you are a developer, and I heard that, and that's like I always wish like I should have some development skills. I was a basis guy when I started, then I moved to security. So I feel like that makes me a better SAP cybersecurity professional. But for me, the one skill I lack is the development skill. I can understand it, but I cannot code. You kind of have all three, I believe, right? That's how it makes you who you are, the Mr. Holger, or that's your secret
Yeah,
sauce.
it's not a secret sauce. I mean, it all, if you're a hacker, it always helps a lot when you can code. I mean, and okay, of course, with AI, it has changed a little over the last years. I was the king of the hill for SAP ABAP, the SAP programming language. But now with the help of AI, I'm the king of the hill in Python, in PowerScript, in PowerShell. So uh, it's a cool thing, but also makes the thing more dangerous because, of course, every hacker is now really just very fluid in all programming languages. I think what really helps me in being very efficient in that is when you are a programmer, you exactly know what you want to have achieved or what you want to get for code. And if AI really just misleads you, which can be easily done, and just goes certain paths too complex, too difficult, not really the right thing, you can quickly correct that and being even more efficient in whatever is coded there. I wrote my very first SAP Trojan in 1996 or 7.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this was a typical by that time, and I still discover this today in when I do code reviews, this pattern. The completely new was these transport stuff SAP developed, where you could not anymore just cut and paste your own stuff into a production system, but you had to create a transport, and then some basis people had to transport this into production. And if they were slow and it takes days for your stuff to get transported, you could not be very effective. And so we had a project situation. And I said, and together with other developers, now we can't wait for transports for 3, 4, 5 days into production. So I said, okay, I write a little material management master ABAP, which was on my table. I should do some reporting. I said, and if you enter a certain material number, then a window pops up, asks you for a file, which is your local ABAP stuff. This ABAP gets uploaded, executed behind the scenes, and you had your new ABAP in these production systems. So work like a charm. This pattern is standard, so but still dangerous. And so yeah, we had this material master ABAP transported into the production system, and after that day, we never had any problems anymore with delayed transports because we did everything ourselves. And this is a typical situation. So by then it was really just no bad means. So we just try to speed up projects. But this was a very beginning where I think also that coding really can lead to, you can do things that are not planned, that to bypass, to manipulate. Yeah, it's the thing. So you did bad things. So it's like this Breaking Bad stuff. But on the other side, it helps you really being very efficient later in finding these kind of bad code because you've written that stuff yourself. And I think that
So
it's just part of a good hacker to be
yeah, good.
very prolific in at least one language and have development experience in getting, just making systems and breaking systems.
So that program, whatever program you're talking, you build to bypass the whole process. That's why I always say we should not be the security should be, or even the process should be the enabler. It should not be the one who's slowing down the business, right? And if you do
Exactly.
that, then that's where the people start finding a different way or maybe a ethical hacker. So the basis guy, or did they ever find about it, or how was it?
No.
Did they figure it out?
Um,
No?
the thing was, this whole thing blew in our faces because one of the programmers really just were just giving us to the telling the project management that we did some really bad things. Obviously, they never could find out how I did it, and I never told them. I would bet in that company this thing is still in production. But yeah, I mean the pattern is by now is if you this is also what I tell people when we do things like code vulnerability analysis, like the SAP tool for discovering evil source patterns, dangerous source patterns in SAP ABAP code. When you really force people to write secure code, if you want to obey them by security policies, you need to make it easy. You need to cater to the developer community. You cannot work against them, and you really need to take them with you. So there's a lot of resistance when you come there and said, "Hey, your source code is not really secure." Oh, that's best practice. I do that for 20 years, so like I did, maybe I would have said the same. But you just need to really talk to them, explain it to them. I think the best way to, or the fastest project to secure code was one company who said, "Okay, if you reach 95% secure code by the end of July, everybody gets $10,000."
Mhm. Yeah.
Hey, this was the fastest cleanup project ever.
So
Community stuff.
giving,
So every
yeah,
every
yeah.
developer was encouraging the other one to make another one and another one because we had to fix 800 codes with vulnerabilities. So it was huge undertaking. But yeah, this was very efficient, much better than any motivation by management speech.
Yeah, and I think you had a ethical. You're doing it in an ethical way. But if somebody like maybe a developer right now is having the same problem, right? Like this whole process. So what the basis team would have done differently, like that would have not forced you to do that? Is there something you think, if I ask you, like, suppose if you go back that time, like what we would have done as a management to not even force you to try to find all these different ways? Like, is there something we can do differently? I'm just thinking to, like, from the management side, what would have done better?
I mean, it's a simple answer, speed. So if they would have done the transports the same day when we requested them, which is a couple of mouse clicks, and there was no reason to delay it, uh, I mean, yeah, we would have never thought about creating such a thing. But if it takes you, from the day you, especially when you are under pressure of go live deadlines, and hey, next weekend we need to be finished, and maybe it's like 3 or 4 iteration until we have the final version in the production system, and it takes like 4 days for a transport. I mean, what do you want to do? You want to get your job done, so you think about how to circumvent this slowed down process, because some basis people, um, it seems to celebrate themselves by telling, "Oh, this is such a difficult task to release transports. It takes me days to think about it." I mean, this this
Okay.
was this was the reason why it's really. I mean, and I've
So
seen
going
this
back to,
in a lot of projects. So I think that's prototypical. So it's not just us or this specific project. It's really, you could see that all over the place.
yeah, don't be the blocker. Use the process and be the enabler, right? And if it's as simple as just moving a transport, maybe look for automation. There's now, I know SAP word has changed. Now there are things which you can automate. You can have jobs, and if it's a standard change versus a normal change and the other things, right? So at least, yeah, okay. So I think I got my answer. I was just thinking, yeah. So even I always say the basis and the ABAP. I think those are the two. I mean, the functional folks too, right? I think they would find a because they understand the function, the business more than we understand. Maybe not everybody, right? And so be the enabler. If they are trying to solve a business problem, don't be the security guy or the basis guy. Oh no, you can't have it, or you can't have this access, or find a way, right? Find a, and big security is that nobody even can feel like we are blocking them. We are giving them a solution, but in a better way.
Yes, like you said, with these authorizations and taking a long time to give certain authorizations for doing things, that's the point where people start looking into, where are these passwords table? How can I decode other people's password? How can I steal identities? Because I need to get this task done, and who
Mm.
has debug replaced? So I need to just do something in the production system. Yeah, and this is a moment where the idea of hacking starts.
Especially for your the best developer and best basis guys,
Yeah,
right? Make friends with them, right? I feel like
yeah,
that having the relationship so that they can always reach out to you. They can always ping you or say, hey, this is going on. We have this problem, and then you become a partner. You're not like it's somebody nobody want to talk to you, right? Because we know they will know, like, if we go to this guy, he's just gonna, or he or she gonna just become a, I don't know, make a big deal about it, because the end goal is to make sure the business is not impacted, right? And the timeline and the whatever deadline we have, because security, we are not in a security, we are there to secure business. Security is a business requirement, right? We have to enable business and not like become, oh, it's security, has to go in a silo. And but I love it. I just loved hearing that part, and I was trying to relate back to what we have to face. And but I just love it. I always feel like the ABAP and the basis and the security, those, and maybe the functional, that has the whole team has to come together and work as a one team for one
Yes.
single cause.
I mean, when I see companies where this works, where it's a team where everybody sees security as a challenge, as something that is there, the risk is there, the attacks are probably there, and also have some, fun in really fighting that's cybersecurity stuff, because they said, hey, just facing hackers could be really interesting. These are really the ones who have best secured perimeters and systems, because it's a constant ongoing process everybody's interested in doing. And I think the one who are really lacking behind is where this is like silo thinking, slowing down. We did this as we always did, and that's something also a very European attitude. Change is bad, especially in SAP world. If you say we have a new technology in SAP, usually it's 5 years old, and so things are sinking very slowly into the mind of people. I think that in these times, in 2025, you need to have a certain speed. You need to have an open mindset in really looking into the world, how things are working. You need to ask yourself, what can I learn? What can I do? Where can I really start breaking up these silos and open ourselves and see what's happening in the rest of the world?
And even like that whole acceptance or relation of SAP can be breached, hacked too, right? I think there's always a because historically we have been like within a firewall on-prem. Nobody knows about SAP. It's a map, different language, and it's kind of its own. It's a whole siloed word. The non-SAP word doesn't know about SAP as the SAP word would know. So unless there's some insider, somebody like or like at least expertise level like you, like who understand SAP the way uh, there was like thinking, okay, maybe not everybody, the bad guy doesn't know about it. They don't know, they don't even have any interest to hack an SAP. But that is even on the landscape level is changing because with the cloud adoptions and everything moving to cloud, at least on the infra layer, if not on the SAP layer. Even the SAP has now public SaaS, the private cloud and things like that. The BTP, I know I think you have a lot going on the BTP world. I think I would love to touch some part of that and what you're doing, the things you're doing. Maybe if not today, maybe in the next episode. I think that's just a one.
Yeah.
I think that's worthy of one hour session just on the BTP and the new cloud security world. But before I go there, so the things we just discussed and that the story you talked about it, Holger. So if I'm a customer, maybe I'm a CISO or I'm somebody who's responsible for securing SAP. And if I just heard what I heard, what is one thing I should do it today to make sure that's not same thing is happening in my company or in my project? Like, do you have any advice there? Like, I don't know, this whole teaming thing, we talk like let's create a team and talk about anything you will talk about. I'm just trying to again rewrap and expand this whole thing because it's such an amazing story.
I mean, yeah, it's hard. So a lot of things are to do. I think the one thing is really is push the agenda. Push people. Even the typical answer when CISOs are asking the SAP people, "What about your CM project? Are we secured? Are you doing firewall stuff?" And then the typical SAP answer is, "It's very complicated. It all depends, and we need to ask our provider. We need to ask our third-party data center. We need to ask SAP, and this will take a long time." And no, I mean, if I were CISO and I would have demand, SAP needs to have, or the SAP group needs to have the same speed as everybody else, because cybersecurity is not waiting for them to catch up to be phase 2 or phase 3 and still, the basic answer of it's all difficult. That's not something that works. What I've seen in this part, and this is maybe where the sense of urgency needs to really come to, because indeed, when we look at who was attacking SAP in the past, in the silo world where SAP was well protected, somewhere on premise, behind a firewall, behind their own group, what you've seen is a lot of insider attacks, RFC attacks from within the perimeters, but no real external attacks or external attacks that were specifically targeting SAP. This was very rare. Most of the stuff was just insider crime, insider sabotage, whatever. But it's changing because now with the opening, with cloud stuff coming in, external facing, vendors connected, the attack vector changes. And what I learned also, I was doing a lot of seminars, SAP hacking for hackers. I mean, where I had companies that had a group of pen testers who were amazing Active Directory hackers, Asia hackers, whatever, bug bounty hackers, and they all tried to learn SAP, said, maybe they can just broaden their skills. And as soon as I showed them the sub GUI and how to log on, tables and where are the crown jewels and USR02, where the B codes are stored, it's like, come on, get out of the way. By the time I learned this, it takes me maybe 2 years. The market is gone. For 2 years, I don't make any money. So just, stupid database, I can hack the operating system and steal the database from there. So 10 times easier than going through a sub GUI.
Yeah.
And this is still the mindset. They didn't have much chance in OS hacking in closed networks. But now with the opening, when, just with external facing, with S4HANA systems exposed to the internet, tables have turned. So now the regular web hacker with his web hacker toolset can easily attack SAP with these technologies, without learning sub GUI, without learning RFCs. So they just do API hacking. And this makes it so dangerous because these external APT groups have complete different speed. If we look at, and I think Mariano also pointed this out, if we look at the April attack, this 10.0 Visual Composer attack on the Java server, it was 4 days, and I had 2 forensic cases here in my customer area where I was involved in really seeing the logs and how the attack was carried out. There were 4 days between SAP announcing the attack and by, just of course, disclosing the tools or the way what you need to do in order to do the attacks, and the start of the attack wave at the customers. So it was like 4 days massive scanning of the whole cyber world for open external facing Java servers. And whoever had external facing Java servers could be sure that the attack pattern was at least tried. Okay, most of the companies didn't have Visual Composer or just, Peri protection, firewall protection, web dispatcher protection. But the ones who didn't, and it's just a number game, so a couple of thousands didn't, and so they were attacked. So, and 4 days. And the interesting part was also that the first wave, the 4 days after SAP announced it, these were not specific SAP attacks, because once they were in there, once they had the remote code execution in place, injected the CNC servers, they went straight for the Active Directory. So they were looking for Active Directory server. They tried the usual stuff, exporting or stealing certificates, exploiting. And once they had the private key from the Active Directory, which to my surprise really just was possible without problems. I mean, of course, skills, but it was possible. They were selling the private key on the darknet. And another 4 days later, the true ransomware was taking place, the ransomware attack. So it was really just complete split of duties, split of tasks. So the first group went in, get the private key, sell it on the darknet. The second group was going for the ransomware and just doing the dirty work. And this was like 8 days from the day SAP announced the vulnerability. 2 things I really don't get is really how can you expose a Java server without any protections to the world? But yes, still possible. Forgotten development server, whatever. I mean, you name it. And the second is how can people really reach your Active Directory and steal the private key? There are so many hardening measures where this attack could have been stopped, and none of them were done. So when I'm CISO, it's like it scares me, and it would scare me to death. And I would just tell people, hey, just close whatever you see here on the plate, close the firewalls, close the loops, make sure you have no holes in your external surface, and get your pen testers to work like me, just make the scan, make everything, and just takes that stuff and protect it. And no more, it must be phase 2. We fix it with the next wave, patching wave at year end in December when we have time. No, that's not today's speed.
Thinking about the question you said, like how come you can put your Java system and expose to internet, right? So in your mind, what is your thinking? Like what would have been the reason? Just like you said, that maybe a dev system or some sandbox system and just say oversight because maybe a basis team just installed something and maybe the network team didn't know. They just so like what would be your response if you have to guess like how come yeah, if it's not a system you need outside available on the internet, why wouldn't you do that to begin with? In I would say in on-prem it may be difficult, but in the cloud world it's pretty easy. But also the cloud gives you details. It will flag those systems. It will give you another different alerting too. So what would be your response? Like why somebody would do that if it's not needed?
I mean, if I look at the at all the hacks that I've seen, the successful hacks are also on SAP system, the break-ins. Strangely enough, this comes really back from my time when I was, like I said, doing B2B, business to business marketplaces for SAP, connecting companies, connecting vendors with customer SAP systems. This is a moment where middleware server have been installed and an SAP Java server is a typical middleware server. In the beginning, people were experimenting, setting just a server, and then maybe comes a security question. Yeah, we have 10,000 vendors that needs to be connected to our system. How do you maintain? How do you monitor 10,000? You cannot give them a VPN. They must be connected to the internet. SAP's technology wasn't ready for high level security. So everybody was experimenting. And this mindset was really still there. And all the Java servers that have been hacked were kind of, how do we connect vendors, partners to our SAP
Mm.
system? And these were typically the leftover development systems nobody really had on its mind. So one big hack was a marketing company was installing kind of a quickly hammered together for the bonus cards, like payback, so where customers can really redeem their stuff in a little shop. Badly built, badly implemented, badly secured because it was a quick marketing campaign connected to SAP. This was the beginning of the end. Hackers found this weak custom accessible server, hacked the server, and then just went on hacked the SAP system, ransomware, total loss of all systems. And this is how it comes. So it's usually this typical what you call misconfiguration, forgotten servers, not really intentional, but somebody needed quickly a development server and then quickly went this for 4 weeks into production just for this campaign and you name it. So all these kind of little excuses are adding up then to the big breach.
So if I'm a customer, how do I audit my landscape if I don't have something like a Onapsis, which would flag it, or any other tool, maybe SAP ETD, or I haven't done any pen testing. So if I am a customer listening to you, Holger, and this podcast, I know this, so you're talking about the visual composer one, which I mean, also we feel like there's some link to again, it's not published, like there's a recent cyber attack on a big manufacturer organization too, right? So, and you said there had been we saw with all this Mariano and I think the team, and they have been talking about this too, right? A lot. So what's like, how do I know if I have a Java system as a SAP basis guy or maybe SAP owner? Is there a way I can do it without having a tool? Maybe the cyber guy would know it, right? They should have a tool, right? I'm just trying to ask like from a very
Yeah.
layman and very basic perspective.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to be curious. And so I have a PowerShell script doing complete external surface scan.
Okay.
And I'm using only two databases, which cost me about $20 a month. One is
Okay.
from WhoIsXML. So it's one of the most known domain owner databases. They have also some very cool subdomain databases, where you can say, give me every subdomain for a given domain name. And then I get for a mid-sized to large company about 200 to 500 subdomains. You just do a PowerShell script that scans them, evaluates them, and then you have a service like Showdown.io where you have all the hacker infos for a given URL or given IP address, and then you just match them and say, hey, where's the risk? And also, so it's like a 50-liner PowerShell written by these days by ChatGPT or whoever. I mean,
Okay.
they can help you very well. So it's like half a day, sitting down there, getting this thing together, getting these API calls. And then you just need to have fun in exploration, just, you find the in the subdomains, you find the cafeteria of that company who published the daily menu, which is maybe not so well secured. You get all these strange development server. If it calls test myvendors.de, so great. Test is always a good part to check. So you spend probably a day being curious and find out what are these stupid domains that pop up 500 domains for a normal company. But this is the work you really need to do, because you need to understand what is your external attack surface, including all these little accidents, leftovers. If you give that to a company like Mandiant or whatever, CrowdStrike, they have the same kind of scripts, they run it, but they usually don't judge in detail, so they cannot tell it's a bogus domain, it's a forgotten leftover. You just need to have somebody in your basis crew who is curious, who really needs who loves these kind of stuff and has like a free afternoon. It's no magic in this way that you don't have to learn a long time. You just have to think, how can I find, what has everybody here just put out on the internet about? And like I said, $50 a month plus 60 lines of PowerShell. That's all you need.
So it's not even expensive as we think cyber is always expensive. Right? All we need is somebody with a curious mind. I think Gabriel Gabs, he talked about similar like the hacker mindset. He said he gave 5 kind of a bullet point, like somebody who would not take no as an answer, somebody who would try to find a better way, somebody who's not afraid of failure, right? You want to try things. And so I just love it. Thank you, Holger. So I think for anybody listening, I think make sure you have at least one person in your team, either on the security side, either on the basis side, who's curious enough, as Mr. Holger explained, right? So we need somebody who will try to find answers, right? Not just doing, oh, system is up, I'm just checking for the jobs are running, our app servers are okay. I think we have this cyber has the whole CIO triad, right? And we all tend to focus on just availability. Okay, that is key for business to do the business, but there's the other aspect of confidentiality and integrity, and then there's going beyond the basics, right? How do I make sure the crown jewel where is there's SAP is secure, and I'm not just doing making sure the system is up, right? That's not my job. That's your job, but you have to go beyond and be curious enough. And I'm the same for SAP security folks. You do GRC, you do create roles and users and things like that, but it's on you to follow somebody like Holger. And we'll come and talk about your book also, because I think that's where we have to give them some avenues, how they at least do something, and then maybe reach out if they're struggling, right? So yeah, have somebody in your team, either I would say basis is always good because they are in the system, they are the admins, they will understand more, and maybe create a team. I would say a web basis and security, if you can form that kind of a core team, that would be amazing. Or have somebody like Holger who have all the 3 hats, right? So wear those hats. But thank you. This is such an amazing story, and I'm just glad. And that's why I think I want to hear more. I know the experience and the wealth of knowledge you bring in. I don't think somebody like me would have known unless I get to meet you and I get to talk to you, Holger. So thank you.
Just one final advice, because people always come up to me, how can I work for you? What do I need to bring on the table that you hire me? I said, not much. If you are a beginner, I don't care if you're a beginner, a pro, or whatever, how many certifications do you have? But the best thing to break into cybersecurity is you sign up with something like with some bounty hunting program. In Europe, it's Yes We Hack. I think in the US, SAP works with crowd,
A
and
crowd. Yeah.
HackerOne is another one. Yogasha is in the Near East, Middle East region, very active. Just sign up with them. Doesn't cost you anything. Just gives you a legal frame for hacking, because you can attack then any website that's on their portfolio that you pick. Show me the first paycheck of about $100 that you get in bug bounty hunting, because it means you pick the website, you really spend your time finding out how the world can I hack this, and this is where you start reading, learning, and not only just doing these kind of exercises on prepared servers, which are really easy, where you can, think you are the best hacker in the world, but as soon as you turn to a real world website, everything vanished. And then just, spend there, write a report together. This is very important stuff. Submit the report and get it through this mitigation process, and then convince the customer, yes, you found a real bug, and yes, it was worth $100. Then show me the paycheck, and then you know how it works, and that's fine. That's all you need, because from then, every hack is new. Technology is quickly learned, but you need to, understand this whole process, and also, be willing to work days and nights, because you want to find out how in the world can I get this one hack working.
Maybe I will try to do that. I will try to get my first $100. I don't think I always wanted to do that on Bugcrowd, but I don't think I have. Maybe I should, but I think okay, that's really good, Holger. So anybody listening, if you're a kid or you wanna go on that whole ethical hacking journey, right? Start there. I think that's the best advice I have heard, because you always get all these new kids, right? Who get fascinated by this. I think there's some fun quotient too, right? Seems funny, or it has not funny in the sense like it has some kind of you find a first bug, you get paid, and I think that the purpose and that kind of a thing comes with that one, right? So, but people get fascinated with it, but they don't really put the effort they should. But if you put effort, genuine effort to learn and get your first $100 check, you can go. I think that shows you have a curious mindset. Going with the curious mindset, you have the
Here's
curious
now, exactly,
mindset.
yeah.
Yeah. So
And on the way, HTTP protocols, websites, APIs. So this is stuff you can really learn. You don't need to have to study that. You don't have to have a degree on it. You just have to be curious. I mean, this is all. This is all. And then just put it in a corporate frame, like a bug bounty program, and then everything's fine.
no, amazing. I think I may, yeah, whatever. So I do some mentorship, and I have some other cyber guys, and I feel like I'm not on the ethical hacking side. I'm the maybe more on the other side, more strategic, more governance, and more. Uh, I think the more we know about each other, what's always good, because that's where we break the silos, right? So let's switch a little bit. Let's talk about the book, which I didn't realize it was released this year. I think it was only released in German, in German language. So you want to talk about your book, Holger, and how somebody with like me can read it? I know we have to translate and there's no English version, but maybe give some bits about the book. What is the book about it, and I think when did it came, and anything you want to share about the book?
Yeah, so the book really goes back to another book that I released together with my friend Daniel Berlin I think it was 2016, 17. By then, Rheinwerk Press really wanted to make a book about SAP security, but they were hesitating to call it hacking because he didn't like the word hacking, and of course, he always thinks they are secure. It was kind of a moderate way of writing about SAP security without being too pushy in terms of real world hacks or whatever. But I think it was an overall overview. And then they reapproached us 1.5 years ago and asked us if we can rewrite this book, but in a more hacking way, in a more active way. Now we are also allowed to use the word hacking and show hacks, but then also accepted that there are hacks. And also we extended it with two guys, Thomas Tiede and Markus Herold, who are from a company I'm partnering with also for more than 10 years, the IBS Schreiber. It's a very famous German or European company. They are running the certification programs for SAP auditors, so they're also very known. So if you're an SAP auditor in Germany, you probably have that certification. Thomas is my age, but also very avid hacker. He always still has a lot of fun in hacking. So we decided to with these four persons to write a book and look at every aspect of SAP. It's pretty much the same as you do in your book. Just look in the frameworks, the corporate requirements, but focus more on hacking, the active. How can I break in? How can I do that? How can I go around it? We have not so much the point of view of corporate governance framework, NIST, MITRE, but more these, how does it work when I want to break it? How do we break hash passwords? How do we break APIs, break BTB? Thomas wrote about breaking SAP HANA, and Markus Herold was more on the business side. How can you just, fraud stuff. How can you do fraud in SAP? How can you detect fraud in SAP? So it's more this active hacking way. So I think both books together would make a great library of everything you ever need to know about SAP security, from government frameworks to, just the latest API hacks. And yeah, I mean, it's always a discussion in these publishing companies. Do we rewrite the book, make it cater to the US, or do we just translate it? Would it be interesting? It's always a discussion that is welcome, and maybe
Okay.
maybe somebody has an idea. I don't know.
I would love to, as you said, I think yeah, your book, the hacking SAP, and then our book, which is more on the, I would say more on the program level, right? So
Yeah,
this is
exactly.
like a combo you would ever need. But the only issue with me, like I can't read German. So either I learn German, use my Duolingo, add German there, and then get your book, or we
Yeah,
somehow we persuade publisher,
it's
right?
yeah. You need to persuade the publisher because everything else we cannot do on a formal level. What I'm doing, especially in pen test, for example, somebody asked me after I did a pen test in Canada and said, "Hey, do you have any ideas what we can do in terms of risk assessment? How can we really extend the pen test beyond the technicality into business stuff? What's the fraud point of view? What is these external attack surfaces? What are the APT threats?" And I have one chapter in that book, which is called the German Autobahn AG, which is a not existing company that owns all German Autobahns. The fast and the faster, I called it. And it's a scenario in one chapter how this company is ruined in one day by hacks. Starting at 6 o'clock in the morning by rumors in the social media world, how bad the German Autobahns are. Everybody crashes, deadly accidents. Management is totally incompetent. And and then the usual stuff of BW hacks, GNL sheets gets manipulated. Nobody knows what's going on. Profit loss, or the annual communication of business activities for the stock exchange is at noon. All numbers are just, wiped out, and they had to go to the stock exchange, say, "Hey, so sorry, we have no numbers by that moment."
Oh.
Then somebody's doing some flash trades, hacking the stock exchange. Flash trades on that stock market sends it plummeting. And at 4 p.m., this company is bankrupt. And all these hacks that I have in this chapter, they belong to real life hacks. The one with the plummeting stock exchange is an incident that really happened at the New York Stock Exchange. There was one moment in time where it was worth exactly 1 penny
Oh.
because of flash trades gone wild. All of this could happen. And what I told that customers, really, I can automatically have this chapter translated, and you make it the base for a workshop for yourself. Could that happen to us? And then, analyze every step along that way in this chapter, from the controlling social medias, controlling hacks, knowing your numbers, being responsive even in times of crisis. When your system is hacked, have at least a paper printout of your GNL report, your ledger sheet. And so this is what I'm doing. So I can translate chapters on a personal or one-on-one level, of course, but the rest, the official translation, needs to be done by the publishers.
Okay,
To
I think
cut a long
we'll
answer short.
yeah. Maybe we'll try. I think we'll try. I think it would be good to at least have a English version of that book, or just a translation, or so that, as you said, that book can become like the resource, the only resource you need, right? We always say, how does somebody start if you're a security basis or a web? There's not much out there, right?
Yeah,
So talking about that, I think I do want to touch about. I think you do some training, and then maybe the new word you talk about, the API hacking. Then we touched some BTP part. So I know we'll do maybe a dedicated session on just on that part, but maybe let's touch that part for some time, because the SAP word, as we all know, is moving more towards the Java system. We talk about it. It's moving to the more kind of SaaS, more web based, more API based. So you want to just maybe just give a brief why it's changing, and maybe your training thing you're doing, Holger.
yeah. With Fiori apps, and then later on the move into the B2B cloud, and also now integration suite. Every customer is forced to migrate all the um, the interfaces to the cloud. You are going away from what you had so far with the remote function calls, which is good. We used it for the last 30 or 40 years. So proven technology, but nobody wants it anymore. And still, ABAP it's like COBOL, so it's not really it's a derivative of COBOL. So nobody really thinks it's cool. Nobody uses it outside of SAP. And with a move into the cloud, into the integration suite, new architecture, Fiori, new architecture, everything became an API. And API is something that is from the new world. You can use it in any programming languages, mostly in the web-based ones, Python, in JavaScript, in Java on the external world, and call SAP functions through these APIs, through these exposed programming interfaces. And these techniques are new to the SAP world. I mean, but they are not new to the usual hacker world, because every hacker speaks API for years now. And once they found out, hey, this is also the way to hack SAP, they were flocking to this world, because they say, hey, now I can use my knowledge of APIs. I have also an advantage because the SAP crews don't know APIs, so I can just hack to my heart's content. And so I try to teach classes where I say, what is hacking? Is API hacking? What do you need to do? Just fuzzing. What are the authorization issues with it? How you bypass authorizations? How you steal tickets, cookies, OAuth tickets, whatever. And how can you manipulate them? And how are these patterns reflect in CM systems? What do you need to look for attack vectors if you are on the blue team side? And so I decided I make special classes between 1 and 3 days of how to attack SAP with the BTP API hack patterns, and what does it mean for the defenders to really look for these kind of patterns, and what kind of policies, especially in the integration suite, do you need to protect you against all these kind of attacks. And so it's a fun exercise. I'm planning to do this kind of open session in Germany. We do this also through our publisher Rheinwerk, but I'm planning to do this kind of exactly 3 times 4 hours in the US, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of December as an online class. So stay tuned. You can just watch my LinkedIn profile, and then I will publish the final announcements how you can just register and the final release. But I think that it's very well received, because there is no such a class, because you need to be fast. You need to be really teaching these patterns in hacking speed, in cyber hacking speed. So I think that's also the fun part, that it's a always evolving class, which even if there are 3 months in between, it's different. It's new stuff coming up. And I try to be as recent as possible. And a lot of people encouraged me to give this also in a higher frequency, because not everybody can attend to a certain time. So, we've been asked for replay sessions a lot of time, so that people can do that at their own speed, own convenience. So I will cater to all of this with an English language version.
I would
Or
love
US
to. I would love to. I would love to join as well if there's the English version. I know I asked you earlier, so if you can do it for global audience, Holger, I would love to join as well, because
Yeah,
as the thing.
no, it definitely will come. I'm working just on the details, and maybe in
Yeah,
1 or
that's
2
fine.
weeks.
Yeah, so we'll share those details as you share on LinkedIn. I will share your LinkedIn profile as well if you're fine, for our audience if they want to reach out, they want to follow you. So I know we probably have to do another episode just on the whole BTP, because the one thing you mentioned, which I think I can totally relate to, is the SAP word is changing. I would not use the word force, but at least that's where the customers would be, right? They would be on S4, either on Rise, public or private cloud. And then the BTP is that whole no code, low code. And for me, I realize BTP is so powerful. But because it's becoming more like how the other words knows and thinks, the more API friendly, right? Maybe on the SAP side, maybe we are not prepared as we would be. As you said, the hacker and the whatever ethical hacker or the blue team or red team, they already know and live that API word for years, right? For SAP word is all new. So there's, I think, the responsibility now our side more to learn more about these things before we start spinning off integration suite and the other BTP services, because there would be maybe a basis guy trying to do BTP. There may be a SAP security guy trying to do BTP security, right? It's not ABAP. It's not what you have been doing, right? JSON, there is a API, access key, secret ID, OAuth, and this, right? The standard which the other side of the world has been living and breathing for years and years. So I think it's good on that side because now we can say we are no more a black box for the cyber world, for the infosec world, but also bad in a way because now the bad guys would also know that landscape better. So are we prepared on the SAP side of the world? Are my basis guys are trained? Are my SAP security guys are trained to at least decipher this whole thing and then understand the risk, right? What are the risks and the threat as the threat landscape has changed now? So I think we have to do a specific. Maybe we'll talk more about it. I know the training is something I will highly recommend, but maybe we can, if you are open to talk about it, maybe just to very high level, like if you are doing on integration suite implementation for your S4 or whatever, these are the basics. You talk about OWASP top 10, right? I don't think out of SAP word, how many would have used OAuth top 10, right? Because we have not been that web-based application, right? We have been SAP GUI, we had Fiori, but it's still, I would say, it's still a foreign thing if you are not into cyber. Do you agree with
Yeah.
that? Like I know you mentioned about
Oh,
OAuth
wow,
top 10.
definitely. Now, these are all really important topics, as you said, because it's a whole new world, and the old SAP world has only very few answers to it. Luckily, the people running these kind of BTP programming stuff, they are coming also inside the company from the non-SAP world, and they have a little different speed. So developing leads that come from the Java world or from the JSON web server world, so they have a different rotating speed, and this is good. I also find out that teaching is really a problem because you have to, even from a legal standpoint, you have to make sure every programmer is briefed on security. What's the minimum? What's the maximum? What he should do? What he should not do? So what I did is I developed a series of scripts that can really speed up making educational videos, just purely based on AI. So you just have a text, your company policy, and you run it through AI with speakers and whatever. I mean, you can get amazing results. And then you get like 10, 20 minutes teaching videos for your corporation. Because you need the speed. You cannot have, in traditional ways, develop courses, curriculums too slow. So you need really to get speed. Teach all your programmers, and and then just learn. With OWASP Top 10, very important because this really describes what is the actual threat situation in the non-SAP world. SAP has a very good blog about mapping these OWASP Top 10 risk in 2025 on the BTP. What SAP provides as secured in terms of encryption, in terms of securing access, whatever. Still, a lot of things the customer needs to do by himself. But at the very end, it's also when you stick to everything SAP provides you in programming, in RAP, in CAP models. If you don't bypass that, if you do not take shortcuts because of deadlines, if you really stick to that, then you are really kind of secure. So I did a couple of pen tests also on large systems recently. Whenever I see a RAP or a CAP developed model, I can stop pen testing, I know the outcome. So no loopholes. So if it's done properly by the books, you are secure. So what I'm looking at as a pen tester, of course, is exactly these last minute bypasses, these last minute APIs without proxy, without a proper connection, without not going through the SAP cloud connector. This is a point where you are really highly hackable. But if you stick by the rules, the cloud is much better than the reputation. But you have to really know where it's secure and where it's not secure. So this is something you learn, and this you learn really also from these OWASP top 10.
Yeah, because there's always a shared responsibility model in the cloud. So as you said, cloud is more secure, but there's also a responsibility on you as a customer to
Exactly.
follow what SAP or any vendor, like whether AWS or Azure, on any cloud, right? They say security of the cloud, security in the cloud, right? So there's shared responsibility. Now the BTP is a more PaaS, it's a platform as service offering, right? And then it kind of have a some other SaaS services too, which is part of the BTP offering. But yeah, as you said, the SAP is giving you all the things, all the tools and things you need. But if you're not using them, they're kind of exposing the same thing we talked about the whole story, right? If the security is a bolt-on, it's a blocker, it's not enabler. Your developer probably is gonna find a workaround, right? The
Yeah.
easier way, the faster way, or whatever. They just wanna just go live with some. And I think one thing you just mentioned, which I think I just like was I wanna just maybe expand on it. You non-SAP guys are joining the BTP or at least responsible for BTP world. So if I'm a customer and I'm doing a BTP, maybe a integration suite or whatever service I'm embarking on, maybe with S4. For the SAP project, there would be chance like the SAP team would be the SAP team. They have been in the SAP world for years. But for the BTP side, you are saying you should have whom you should hire because even they would not understand BTP in the way, but that's so easy for them to learn if they have lived to the AWS and the other non kind of the API world, right? The actual engineering stream, right? So is it your advice or recommendation? You should have some non-SAP, like the engineering guys, maybe managing your BTP. Like what role they would be playing in the BTP world?
Yeah, just to give you an example, I was doing a 1 week workshop for a customer about going into SAP Cloud and with all the components, and also had this development part, how you do RAP and CAP development. And then there was 3 guys sitting also there in the audience, and they said, "Hey, you're a nice guy, but hey, you really don't have done large cloud developments." And I know, I mean, I know the theory. I'm a good ABAP guy, and I know my RAP model. And he said, "Okay." And then we sit together. He showed me how they are doing at this company, really large scale B2B development. I said, "Hey, just go ahead. Here's the stage. I think you should tell how you do development here, because this is really great." And they were all like total excited people from JavaScript, from Python, managing content management server. They have written great systems, deployed it to the BTP cloud, put also great API security in front of it. So, and they were all non-SAP, but they were also the category totally curious. They liked what SAP provided them with tools, with infrastructure. They were really taking that serious and really deploying everything. I think this was a really great session because there was no ego. I mean, if you tell me, "Hey, you are wrong on this side," I'm like, "Okay, I always learn. Just tell me where I was wrong, and I next time I'm right in this one." And the other one was that also the audience, the customer was saying, "Hey, great story, great development. We see here also where just by the books meets how it really works in an enterprise." And this was a totally exciting chapter. And I think the customer really were taking a conscious decision to hire these guys or taking them from their own web development crew. It was just, just two works coming together, and who are the best people for the job. And hey, and if these are non-SAP people, no problem, because it's about infrastructure, it's about API. This little the backend stuff can be done by old school programmers, and they just make them work together. And that makes them work together is really also the domain of these young people, just starting their career and are still hungry for all the new stuff.
I love it. I love it. So I think this whole, we always talk about the siloed word, right? So what I'm hearing from you, like you're saying, open up the BTP world because BTP you can build things in Node.js, you can use JavaScript. That is a foreign to what SAP used to with the ABAP and just the Java, right? So yeah, you can actually. And I will not name the company. I think a big company. I think I was in a conference. I met like a lot of developers, and I heard like they are having non-SAP developers building full stack apps on
Yeah,
BTP and deploying it.
exactly.
That was for me was like, wow. So I
Yeah,
do think
exactly.
like the BTP is so powerful. I just love it. I feel like it maybe the SAP is the best. At least we all love SAP. This is where we have been working. But I feel like that BTP is such a powerful platform. Just like we just need to learn and maybe embrace the new generation who probably has better ideas, and this is for them, like this is the word they live, right? It's maybe a SAP, they have put some wrapper or some layer over whatever, and then they're using Cloud Foundry. Cloud Foundry is And I heard like this Cloud Foundry is the like open source platform which other cloud providers
Yeah,
are also using. There's a Kima, which is the Kubernetes, right? So they know Kubernetes, they know all this container,
exactly.
they know they have been living this world for years. For SAP world, the containerization, the Kubernetes, these are all new, right? So
No, exactly, and that's really the fun part. And I think that the SAP silo is one thing. You still need it. It's where your crown jewels are. It's where your database are. It's where the most of the data is coming. But the party is on the cloud side.
yeah, yeah.
The new people, new ideas, fresh possibilities. Because with ABAP, you only come to a certain extent in functionality in terms of GUI, interaction, graphics, whatever, media. This is all cloud party. So this is where you need to manage that. You need to understand that. And then you are really on that process of transformation, transition management, getting new ideas, getting different groups from your company working together. Again, this is where the silo ends and where business transition starts, the digital transformation starts, and also security opens, because of course, you are no longer in this SAP security silo and your SAP CM system, but suddenly you are in this world of cybersecurity. You, your what is called in the gamer world, the boss game. At the very end, when you meet your final boss and opponent, it's an APT, and it's maybe a state-sponsored APT who has tremendous possibilities and really scans the hell out of you just to find attack vectors. So you really need to open up also on the security side, not only on the transition management and development side.
Yeah, so the segue can be at least for the BTP word. The good news is it's no longer a black box. It's the word which the non-SAP word has been living. The engineering team, the cyber team, the infosec team, the API based and the whole uh, Node.js and other technology, JavaScript and everything. So that's the good news. So yeah, let's make sure we collaborate, we embrace the other side of the word. We don't become like the blocker. We are not the one who's pushing back, because it's only gonna, I think we're gonna need them also to secure the new word. So I think we will do a episode just on the whole. I think I would love to deep dive more on it. I think I'm just loving it, that the conversation with you on this thing and the perspective you're bringing, because I didn't think from that, right? Bringing non-SAP, because I'm thinking more like we just have to upskill and learn. But it doesn't mean like you can't just bring somebody who had been doing these things, the engineering team, and then bring it on your side and then upskill them just on the SAP side of them. But they don't need to know a lot of the SAP word. At least I think the BTP word is easy, would be easy for them to learn, and then yeah, help us secure it. Use OAuth top 10, the policies, then the big things, the big
Exactly.
control, the baseline and everything SAP is providing, right? So don't be that guy of pushing back and being the black box. So I think we probably would like to maybe continue this. Just one. I think we need. This is 1 hour or 2 hour worthy session just for this. I feel like this is where all the customer would be with the S4, because we're saying BTP is where the code and the custom everything would be happening, and it is so powerful, right? The whole AI thing, the whole every work SAP is pushing, all the transformation is happening on the BTP. So you cannot avoid BTP in new SAP world anyway, Holger. But I would say the last departing thought from your side for our listeners, maybe I would say maybe two things. So one thing maybe on the SAP side of the word. So if I'm SAP security or SAP basis app, or what one thing I can learn from you? And the second question I would say maybe from the non-SAP world, maybe somebody who has done the engineering. So I would say two departing thoughts from you, and then maybe a promise from your side to come back again to deep dive on the BTP and the API and every work you're doing there.
My core advice to the SAP people, especially the basis people, but also to the people responsible for SAP groups in the companies, is open up yourself, take security serious, take all the challenges serious, see what's coming up on new technologies, embrace them, and do not block them. I mean, otherwise, your silo breaks together. So you really need to understand that there's a new world, and you need to stand up to that, all these challenges. And to the API, BTP hackers, or BTP Cloud Kubernetes cluster programmers, it's great that you are such a great programmer, but you need to be part of a corporate agenda. So understand that. Policies are important. Yes, you need to create a transport, which is maybe not heard of so much in your old world, but you need to take these corporate requirements seriously and maybe just also embrace them also, because they also push kind of your responsibility and your thinking in architectures. So this is really something that the BTP hacker or BTP programmer needs to embrace.
Thank you, Holger. I think I'm gonna probably invite you more often. At least to me personally, I think there's so much to learn from you. I would just love to host you maybe once in a month if you are willing to do it. Maybe we go deep dive, maybe just open ended, just talk about SAP, the past, the present, and the future. But this is so much of wisdom which you as I think you're doing your work on that side of the world. I know you talk about some German and the close environment, and again not going to political and whatever the regional. I would say like we need to create like a global community, which we have today. Just like how do we connect the wisdom on that side of the world? The German book which you wrote, I would love to read that book, but I maybe have to start learning the German on my Duolingo. I have to add that as a language, but thank you, Holger. This was amazing. I learned a lot. I know our audience would be loving a lot and learning a lot. So if somebody would love to reach out to you or maybe just to know more about your work, is it the LinkedIn is the right platform or the other places they can
Yeah,
connect with you?
LinkedIn is a great platform because I'm open also to direct mails. As
Okay.
whoever would like to contact me, just connect and send me a message. I'm also open to emails. So, but I'm not sure how we should publish the email address. But LinkedIn is always a good way of connecting.
Yeah, I prefer LinkedIn too. Like, you are the ethical hacker, right? So I think
Yeah.
we will try not to give our emails here, but we will post the LinkedIn and the profile link for you on our podcast so that people can connect, follow, reach out to you. And for me, I would say I will love to just have you back again. I think I would love to do deep dive on the BTP, and I would also love to join the training session which you are doing it for the German audience and also for the global audience. So I would look towards your update on LinkedIn, and I know how to reach out, so I will reach out register, and I will
Yeah.
love to attend it. But
Sure.
thank you, Holger. This
Okay.
was amazing.
Yeah.
I think you took us into 90s world, then we went into the little bit kind of a 2000, and then so I think we need to go more deep dive. But I was living in my past too, and when I first came into SAP, and then US and the stories and the example you gave about that, I can totally relate to that whole trying to hack in and not hacking, but trying to bypass the
Yeah.
processes if they are blocker, right? So I think there's so much of wisdom. So I just loved it. So thank you, Holger, for coming on our show. This is not the last. This is first, and I know we just connected recently, but I feel like I have known you forever, and probably I don't know you feel like same thing
It's
because
great. I love that conversation as well, and I think it's a great chance to talk a little bit also not only on topics, but also I like telling stories, as you can just have seen.
yeah.
And I think, but it's important. You need to be a storyteller in order to get here.
Yeah. And I think another thing which I think we talked about it, like the patch days, right? Every second Tuesday,
Yeah.
the patch days come. There are sessions happening by, I believe, by SAP, by ESUG, and others too. But I still feel like it's still too technical on some front, right? So how do we kind of make it easy to decipher for customers and maybe like so? I would love to even do something around. I know we talked about that briefly, but we'll connect on that too. But it's just like how do we empower and yeah, I guess learn from each other, create the global community because we're gonna need everybody. It's not like the SAP world is changing, and this is what we know we have been working, and this is where I get to pay my bills, and this is what we love to, right? And this SAP is doing amazing job with the BTP and S4, but the I would say the work is in our end as a practitioner to learn those skills and embrace it, and as you say, don't push back, and then yeah collaborate, right? The collaboration is key. So thank you, Holger, again for.
I thank you for hosting me, and what a great pleasure. And I hope that we do some really good stories in the future.
No, I'm trying to learn storytelling too. I think, and that's as you said, this is the key part, right? So yeah, I will look forward to again having you back on our show.
Yeah.
But thank you and have a good
Okay.
weekend.
Yeah, have a good weekend too. Bye.